Welcome. Good evening. One of the main issues in spirituality, in how we are with our lives and our experience, is prioritizing. I think a great deal of the problems that we face are due to sloppiness in prioritizing and coming to see what is actually important, what is actually relevant, what is actually powerful, is the solution to these confusions. Typically in the world, in our lives, we're used to relating to all the conditions that are around us in our lives as being very important. What seems to be showing up in the way we're doing it, whether we're succeeding or failing, whether we're winning or losing, whether we're how we're managing the circumstances in our lives, and relating to the circumstances as if they're important, and just taking for granted the background, the fact of experience, the fact of being itself, because it just seems like a given. It's just irrelevant. It's just sort of the medium of all of what matters, and what matters is my life and how I'm doing in it, and all the details and all of the things that we engage with, that we strive so hard with and get worked up about and get torqued up about. But unfortunately, that way of prioritizing the circumstances, orienting to life in terms of the circumstances that seems to be presenting themselves, is doomed to failure, is a recipe for pain and suffering, because circumstances are beyond control. Circumstances come and go. They have a life of their own. They're unpredictable. They're uncontrollable. You can't ever get anything that you're not going to lose. You can't ever get rid of anything that's not going to necessarily show up again. We don't have a lot of control over the circumstances. It's like worrying about the weather. Sure, it's nice when it's a nice day, but when it's not a nice day, if you're going to be suffering and pissed off and angry, what's the point? Because a lot of the times it's not going to be a nice day, whatever your definition of a nice day is, because the weather comes and goes, circumstances comes and go, things change. But it turns out that the very fact of experience, the very fact of being itself, is, rather than just a given, a neutrality that is sort of the background condition of everything. Well, sure, of course there's being, sure, of course there's experience, but what's going on? The being, the experience itself, is astoundingly powerful, and by its very nature is transcendental, in the sense that it is not dependent upon circumstances. Circumstances are dependent upon it. Circumstances are dependent upon your being. Circumstances are dependent upon the fact of your experiencing, not the other way around. So when circumstances come and go, when circumstances ebb and flow, the fact of experience doesn't change. It's just always right here, crystal clear, just right in the present, right, completely obvious, completely the same, completely untainted by what seems to be appearing in it. And we're used to identifying with our bodies, we're used to identifying again with our circumstances, and so the discovery that in actual fact you are this being, you are this presence of this actuality that is here, this presence that is not dependent upon circumstances. It's not generated by circumstances. Circumstances appear in it. It's not, the fact of your experience is not improved when things go well. The fact of your experiencing is not damaged when things don't go well. Experience is always just a perfectly clear window that all sorts of circumstances appear in, all the details of your life, all of the the content of what seems to be going on. And it's quite understandable that most people are not in the habit of identifying with this because it seems to be a non-event. It's like nothing's happening. It's just here. It's just this that is. It's so what? It's always here. It's nothing. There's no action. There's no payoff. There's nothing. There's no drama. There's no excitement. It's just, well, here it is, perfectly clear, like always. But for those that look closely at this presence, for those that really feel what this is, they're really surprising, possibly, discovery that everything comes out of this presence. All of this circumstance, all the excitement that most of us are completely caught up in and get all torqued up about in our lives, appears because of this presence, emerges within this presence, and disappears into this presence as new conditions emerge in this kind of continual sort of an ebb and flow, a continual sort of an ongoing movie show of the details of your life, your so-called life. Very much the way a dream emerges from sleep. The dream is not a separate thing from sleep. The dream appears because of sleep. If sleep wasn't there, the dream wouldn't happen. The dream is not an independent thing that's sitting over here and sleeps over here. The very nature of sleep is to show up as a dream, to show up as all of this apparent event, apparent circumstances. And then when the dream's over and nothing has happened, it was just a dream. It's just an apparition. And likewise, in this circumstance of our lives, all of this, ongoing detail and events of our bodies and our circumstances and our relationships with others and our finances and our noble qualities and our perversions and our failings in terms of our personality flaws and all of these various qualities just appear and disappear within this presence, just like dreams do, just like a dream does. And of course we all know this in a dream. You can dream of anything happening. You can dream of a wonderful event and you're the hero, or you can dream of just some stupid, innocuous something and like, what was that about? Or you dream some horrible thing where it's just this enormous tragedy and then it passes and it was just a dream and it didn't impact anything. It didn't change anything. It didn't affect anything. The sleep isn't affected by a dream. And it is the fact that you are this presence, you are this being, within which all the circumstances of all of reality seems to be appearing. All of the circumstances of your life, the world, other people, everything is appearing spontaneously within your being, within your field of presence, with this present field of experience that is miraculously right here, right now, always. It doesn't come and go. It's always, you're always right here, you're always right now. Right? I know, it seems to look different. All this stuff comes and goes, When this talk's over, you get up and you leave the room, and it looks like, you're somewhere else. It looks like you get in your car, whatever. But you're just going to be right here, and it's going to be right now. Just like always, just like right here, right now. It looks different. All these appearances just come and go. Once you leave the talk, the disappearance will be completely gone. Poof, just like it never had existed. And there'll be some new appearance. And then that'll go. Because all appearances just come and go, just like in the dream. So, in terms of prioritizing, we're all very used to prioritizing the circumstances that seem to be appearing as major importance. Most people typically are very emphatic about this. What's going on? What's happening? What do I need to worry about? What do I need to strive for? What do I need to, be concerned with? What am I going to be entertained by? What's going to be interesting? What's going to be a problem? What's going to be a challenge? And, woe is me, and oh, great, lucky me, aren't I wonderful? All these kinds of reactions to the sort of the drama show that seems to be going on with an experience. And that seems to be the priority. And then just the simple fact of this presence is typically much less of a priority, if it's even noticed at all as an actuality. But for those that can see what's actually going on here, to discover the actual priority of the astounding power and transcendental nature of this presence, this nowness, this here-ness that you are, that your experience is intrinsically, where's it coming from? Where is it sitting in? Where's your experience? Where is it sitting? What's it sitting on? What's holding it up? What's generating it? If you look at these questions, it's astounding. It's incredible. Where is this? What is this? And you will discover that there's no rational answer to those questions. It's essentially miraculous. The presence of your consciousness, within which the whole world, the entire universe of reality appears, is a complete miracle. There's no way to pin it down. There's no way to answer that question. There's no way to, deconstruct it or sort it out. Not just as an abstract issue, not just as a philosophical point of, oh yeah, gee, that's really interesting. And it's palpable. You can feel it. Here, my field of experience is present, is here, is real. It's completely actual, undeniably. It's not a concept. It's an actuality. It's present. It's a presence. It's a completely self-verifying presence. What is it? Where is it? Where is it coming from? What's doing it? What's it made of? Everything that appears within it, all of this circumstances, all the colors and shapes that appear in the field of vision, the thoughts that appear in the field of mentality, the sensations that appear in the field of touch, and so on and so forth. All of this incredible sea of information, this continually, spontaneously self-refreshes in real time, coming from where? Where does this light come from? Where does these sounds come from? Where does all this experiential characteristics come from? They just appear strangely. And there is power in this. What's the force that is doing this? And again, it's not an abstraction, it's not a philosophical notion. This is real, it's really being done. It's an actuality that is right here, right now. That is you, right? This is doing you. This is you. You are it. What is it? You can feel the actuality of this, and you can feel the power of it. You can't ever sort it out. You can't ever make sense of it or describe it or, write an essay about it that's going to make any sense. But because you are it, you have access to what it is, and through absolute direct engagement, through identity, through pure intelligence, because it is, and you are pure intelligence. You are pure consciousness. All of this experience is appearing in consciousness. It's being perceived consciously, right? So consciousness is an actuality. You can't ever find it. You can't. find consciousness as a thing and, oh, there it is, It's not like that. It's very strange. But it's clearly in effect as a functionality, spontaneously, of what this is, of what you are. And this, again, is, even though it's not analyzable, you can't describe it, you can't make sense of it, it's palpable, it's actual, it's completely self-evident that, whatever it is, what you may call your consciousness, is an actuality that is present. And it is profoundly intelligent. It effortlessly and spontaneously engages in real time with the infinite sea of stimuli that are appearing in your experience. Right? All these colors. There's no time lag. It's not like you need to sit, you feel the vision, and like instantly in real time, everything is completely engaged with, appears with absolute clarity. Bang! It's not like, the consciousness essentially say, oh, let's see, that color's there, and this color's here, and that color's there, and this, wait a minute, wait, what was that over there, It's not like it's making lists and having to remember them. I mean, what power that instantly the consciousness completely engages with every single thing that's present in the field of vision, in the field of thought, in the field of hearing, in the field of touch, without any processing time, without any lag time, without needing to, take stock of itself and figure things out. I mean, it's really a show of power, it's a show of force, and it's a show of competence, and it's a show of intelligence. And it's an illustration that you are all these things. You are intrinsically all of these things. And because you are consciousness, because you are intelligence, that is doing all this, you have the capacity to be with your own being with the same level of intelligence that your own being is with all this incredible, astounding elaboration instantaneously. So this is palpable. This is, you can feel it. You can engage with this with absolute profundity. It's completely irrational. You can't make sense of it. You can't describe it. But it's a felt actuality. It's self-verifying. You can feel your being. You can feel your intelligence. You can feel your engagement. You can feel your open-endedness, just as it is, not as abstract qualities, not as qualities that need to be thought about or figured out, but just as felt actualities. And in doing so, you will directly discover that, you are what you are, which is certainly much more than you can think you are, and much more than people generally describe themselves as being, or people generally project onto each other as being, in sort of consensus reality, normalcy of what people say they are or think they are, and so on and so forth. You are a transcendental, miraculous field of, present consciousness. No, I'm just a little guy. I'm a white male. I was born in New York, and I'm, a little semi-evolved primate over here, and I have this history and that, and I'm stuck in my circumstances. No, I'm a transcendental, miraculously present field of, can't say what, of experience, whatever that is. It's self-evident. It's a complete obvious actuality. And in its own context, outside of the normal context that it's shoehorned into in terms of consensus reality descriptions and so on, it's completely obvious how astounding this presence is, how astounding this actuality is. And it's directly knowable. It's completely obvious, in fact, once one has the wherewithal to actually look at it. didn't know what I was going to talk about tonight. I still don't.
Same old stuff.
I guess I'm pretty boring. Michael.
Now where we go from here, right? Yeah.
So the appearance of things, the way that the seemingly outer world is experienced, what is the relationship of that to its actuality? There are some schools such as the mind only or Chitta Matra's school in Buddhism that there's actually nothing outside of the mind, which seems to imply there's some type of bizarre projection. There's actually nothing out there. It's all an appearance completely dependent upon the subjective being.
Right.
And I can at least get a handle on this conceptually. Maybe that would help. You mentioned in a dream, things don't have. They seem to exist, but they actually don't. But the actual waking state, like if I were to punch John, he would feel a sensation.
Well, you don't know that he would feel the sensation. He may appear to react as if he would feel a sensation, but if you punched him in a dream, he may seem to react in the same way, or not.
I understand the dream as being completely. It has no reality other than in my mind. It's just.
Well, no. This is you're putting too much abstraction on it, and as if it was a fact. You can't know that the dream has no reality except in your mind. It could be you can't know what your mind is. You can't know what no reality means. You can't know what reality means. This is as much reality as there is, and this is as much no reality as there is. And if you were dreaming and I was saying the same thing, it would be equally true. And what exactly is happening here? You can't deconstruct it. You can't find elements that you can say are separate from each other or are not separate from each other. It's weirder than that. What's the relationship between the dream and the dreamer? You can't answer that question. Is a dream a projection? What does that mean? A projection. What does a projection mean?
Meaning it is a world or an experience in which the phenomena have no existence from their own side. The John that I would.
But what does from their own side mean?
Meaning sentient.
Meaning what?
Sentient, having feeling, having the ability to feel or perceive.
But nothing has feeling but you, as far as you know. And if anything else has feeling, then nothing has feeling but them, as far as they know. It's a reality check, you know. You have to be brutally honest about what's what. As far as you know, there's only one experiencer, and you can't say what that is. There's only one sentience, and you can't say what that is. And there's one perceived open-ended field of astounding phenomenon. You can't say what that is. And you can't say what the relationship. I mean, I elaborated those things as if there are three elaborations, but you can't say that there's three things, or there's one thing, or there's what. You can't, because you can't, none of them resolve into sufficient coherence to pin down exactly what they are, or even that they are a them, or not just an it, this.
So they say they like something that generates a feeling of attraction or fear or.
But it doesn't. You say the word generate. You can't say that it generates it. You can say it seems to coexist. You can't even say it's a reaction.
That's how I know, seemingly, the existence of something by how what reaction arises towards it.
But you don't know. You can't say that the reaction is towards it. It may seem to be towards it, but it may arise in some kind of a relationship with it. A presence with it, but you can't say that it's a reaction to something. You can't say this, the chicken and the egg. You can't pin it down. There's experience, say, experience of certain open-ended forms. There's experience of emotions. There's experience of feelings. There's experience of desires. There's experience of revulsions. There's experience of whatever, and all of these things are appearing. And even having enumerated all those things, you can't say that they're things because you can't actually find them. They're assertions. They're empty assertions about something that transcends that way of putting it. You cannot find a thing. You cannot find a reaction. You cannot find a desire. What is desire? You say, well, if I feel desire, I know what it is. Okay, very well and good. But you're naming something desire that is a feeling. What's a feeling? Well, and again, you just keep getting back to the fact that reality is transcendental, i.e. undescribable. You can't pull it into sufficient coherence to pin it down, to say what it is. It certainly is not nothing in any simple sense, right? It has all of these sort of characteristics or flavors or whatever, but none of those characteristics and flavors can be found, can actually be isolated, can actually be pinned down with sufficient coherence to say that they're them, or say what they are, or say that they're distinct from something else. I mean, all you can really say is this is. And then you can start elaborating all kinds of theories and deconstruct components, asserted oh, this is, and there's objective appearance, and there's subjective consciousness, and there's mind, and there's this, and there's projection, and there's that. But all those assertions are just hypotheses which are baseless, because what they're based on, this actuality here, this presence, is completely unanalyzable, completely unresolvable. It's not nothing, but you can't find what it is. You can't find what anything is.
And the traditional model in dealing with the afflictions, the Hinayana approach is to avoid that which would give rise to anger and desire. In Mahayana, one applies antidotes, like hatred, meditate on loving kindness. And Dzogchen, in similar radical path, but you actually intentionally ingest that, so to speak, to transmute it. You don't avoid it, you don't apply an antidote, you embrace it and see it for what it is,
exactly. You discover that it is itself transcendental reality, and you can't analyze it sufficiently to tell whether or not it's an affliction. And you can't analyze sufficiently how effective or what your reactions to that are. And all these various strategies and all that, you can't, they're all assertions, they're all spin doctrine. Oh, here I am trying to avoid afflictions. Here I am trying to cultivate compassion. It's a game, it's gamesmanship, it's an assertion. What does it look like to be cultivating compassion? What does it look like to not be cultivating compassion? I mean, it's just, it's like the old game, now I'm meditating. Now I'm not meditating. Now I'm meditating. Meditating is a pretense. It's spin doctoring. It's a spin doctoring overlay on the fact of experience. And non-meditating is another descriptive overlay on the fact of experience. And experience is always just experience. Meditation is experience. Non-meditation is experience. Desire is experience. Applying antidotes is experience. But to claim that, but this experience is different than that experience, it's an empty assertion, because you can't actually find what anything is enough to prove that claim. The claim's baseless. Do you see that? Do you follow that? To have an affliction and then to have an antidote, to be applying an antidote to an affliction, you need to find an affliction and know and be able to demonstrate with certainty that it is an affliction and know what that is. And then you'd have to demonstrate that an antidote was an antidote, and you know what it is, and you know that the antidote is an antidote to the affliction. And all of that is hot air, because nothing can be known with certainty what it is. It's impossible, because everything is transcendental. I mean, transcendental is a very grandiose sounding word. It just means that things are incoherent. You can't say what anything is.
So, when it, my experience has been that what I would call the infliction, which is just another name or term for a disturbance, a disturbing feeling.
Sure. Okay. Disturbing feeling.
It seems to have a function or the nature to obscure the ability to sense a lot of whatever agitation or the grasping energy. That colors the screen, and that
right.
dominates the
sure.
And so, to the extent that is dominating, that's the only thing that's going to be. You can't see.
Sure. But when you see what this is about, all of that mindset, all of that temporary insanity, which is basically what it is, because it's all a projected scenario, none of which has any basis in fact whatsoever. But all of that insanity is based on one very simple principle, which is the idea that you can know what anything is. And if you think you know what something is, then you can want it, you can hate it, you can be bothered by it, you can try to solve it, you can try to avoid it. But all of that is based on thinking you know what it is, and that's a fallacy. And as soon as you see you can't know what anything is, all of that entire game of insanity just dissolves. It becomes baseless.
Right.
Because there's nothing. Buddha, in the first three noble truths, said the cause of suffering is attachment and aversion. And elsewhere, although it's not strung together necessarily very efficiently, but that all dharmas are without self-nature, i.e. nothing is resolvable. You can't find out what anything is. And that is the solution to attachment and aversion. Attachment and aversion is based on the idea that there is something, anything that you could be attached to, and or something, anything that you could have aversion towards. And since no dharmas have any self-nature, nothing can be found that is a thing, that can be known to be this or that. And so right away, the entire plug is pulled on attachment and aversion. And the third noble truth, the cessation of attachment and aversion, is cessation of suffering. So the cessation of suffering, the cessation of disturbance, the cessation of afflictions is based on seeing that there is nothing to get upset about. You can't find anything. It's like a dream. A monster appears in a dream. It's not really a monster. It's just a dream image. A pile of gold appears in a dream. It's not wealth, it riches. It's just a dream image. And it comes and goes, and you never know what it is. Just like everything in life.
So getting back to my original question, the delineation between inner and outer, to try and figure that out or get some type of handle on it, you would say don't bother, just exactly how it appears is what it is.
Yes. No distinction of anything from anything else can be found definitively. It can seem to be there. It can have all sorts of nuance and implication as if it was like that, but it can also not be that way, because nothing actually resolves as being one thing or another. Can you see this as out there and you as in here? Sure. Can you see this as all one field of like a dreamlike field of experience? Sure. But both of those seeings don't have any legs. Because what it really is, it doesn't even resolve that much. It's just this actuality. And you can't even say what actuality means.
So would you say that those models like Cheetah Moshman and Prasanna event and so forth, which may be just ways of loosening, like stepping stones to replacing one
sure.
One sense of reality with another, or
there are approximations that are ultimately inaccurate, as all approximations have to be. And the important point that I'm trying to make is that approximations are not powerful except as instruments to confuse yourself with. Whereas actuality is powerful. This that is here is powerful, is real, is juicy. This is life. This is the real thing. And its open-endedness is its freedom. And its open-endedness is your freedom. So, and this open-endedness is to be found in actuality, right here, right now, not in analysis, not in philosophizing, not in trying to figure things out. The open-endedness is exactly the opposite of that. The open-endedness is the simple, obvious, self-evident fact that nothing is resolvable, nothing is figurable out. You can never get to the bottom definitively of what anything actually is, which doesn't deny its reality. This is real. This is undeniably real. It's the only real. This is it. But what it is just this. And you can't go any farther than that. And if you do, you're manufacturing it. That's where projection comes in. This isn't a projection, this is real. But that this is this or that is a projection.
It's the opposite of what you were describing before, the emptiness or shunyata. The opposite of that is the fullness of definition, if you will.
Yeah.
The assertion of
yeah.
things that as this or that.
Yeah. You know, shunyata is often defined as emptiness or void and these kinds of things. And this is, I think, a big mistake. This is a fullness. This is the complete fullness. This is everything. It's not nothing, it's everything. But there's no things. This is everything. This actuality, this life. And that fact, which seems sort of just as a tautology and like, yes, so what? If you really let yourself feel what it is as it is, is surprisingly powerful, surprisingly liberating.
It's just the one taste.
Yes. Yeah. But not as an abstraction, not as one taste, just as this. This is always this. You know, and you'll never be able to say what that means. But it's undeniably actual, it's undeniably true. I mean, I call it presence because it is present. Well, I can't say what presence means, of course, because you can't say what anything means, but it's palpably and self-evidently present. And that fact is powerful. It's not just oh yeah, it's present. Interesting. It's not just a passing observation. This presence is the power of reality to be itself, which is doing all this. You know, in real time, not as an abstraction.
It includes actually the so-called afflictions and
because all of that is just taking, pointing to that and saying, boy, that's really ugly. I hate that. I wish it wasn't there. You know, and what could that be based on? Because there's no that has stability or resolution that can be found.
It's the same consciousness that perceives something as truly existent, or absolute.
Yeah, exactly. Truly, this is truly existent, but there are no things truly existent because this is not resolvable. This presents with an infinite field of innuendo and seemingness. Part of the confusion is that this is so rich with seemings. It's so rich with suggested flavors, implications. But none of these seemings and implications actually resolve into anything. And when you reify these things, when you have a seeming and you say, oh yeah, that's what it is, and you try and sort of solidify it and lock it in with your imagination, that's what causes all the trouble. But none of this coherence can actually be found experientially. And experience has to be the only basis on which to build abstractions. And since experience is absolutely fluid and absolutely unresolvable, your abstractions, if they don't include that, are lies. So when you abstract something that's seemingly stable, seemingly has identity, seemingly is this and not that, you're manufacturing it. You're pretending. There's no experiential basis in actuality for anything that's like that. No condition like that can actually be found. Experience is absolutely and infinitely ambiguous.
It's only ambiguous if you try and put a meaning to it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is exactly what it is. You know, and again, trying to talk about it just muddies the water, because experience presents with an infinite degree of specificity. There's all of these characteristics that are the way they are, but if you look at all of them, any of them, so to speak, they're all open-ended. They all don't. They all don't. This chai tastes exactly the way it tastes, but what is that? When I say exactly, well, it is exactly definitely. Yeah, no doubt about it. But what is that? Then the flavor. I go to the flavor. What is the flavor? And it opens into a universe. It doesn't settle down. It doesn't crystallize into a little rock that sits here. No, that's what the flavor is. On the contrary, it's like this amazing dreamlike richness that is exactly what it is and tastes completely different than curry or a cookie or whatever. But I can't say what each of those. I can tell they're different, but I can't say what different means, and I can't say what each of them are either. So we have this very strange situation where experience presents with infinite degree of specificity and characteristics, but none of the characteristics are actually resolvable as to what they are. And which sounds like gibberish, logically, but it's the self-evident fact, experientially. I mean, this whole point. I come back to this again and again and again in these talks. This is the real turning point about infinity, about open-endedness, about unresolvability, is that experience presents with all of this specificity, an infinite amount of specificity, but an equal amount of unresolvability. So there's all of this specificity, but none of it comes together. None of it, resolves into stability. It all just diverges. You look at something. I'm using a visual analogy here, but any experiential field is the same. You go to any experience, and it is the way it is. And then you say, okay, let me find out what it really is, and you go into it, and more and more and more and more. And instead of coming together into more and more coherence and more simplicity, the opposite happens. Everything spreads out and opens up, and the closer you look at something, the less you know about it. The more complex it becomes, the more subtle it becomes, the more elusive it becomes. It's like a mirage. It looks like water on the desert. The farther you are from it, the more solid it seems. And you go up and say, let me check out what this mirage is. And you go up and you look at it, and where did it go? And you look at a flavor or a color or something, and if the less closely you look at it, the more coherent it seems to be, and you begin to look more closely and more closely and more closely. What is it exactly? And it opens up. It gets more subtle and more complex and more sort of spreads out more and more. And so experience does not. It doesn't. What's the word? There's a geometrical word that I like. Convert. Yeah, it doesn't converge. It diverges. Experience is intrinsically divergent. Think of people. You know someone. Your first take on them, they seem to be the way they are. And then you hang out with them, and you really get to know them more and more. And the more you know them, the more complex and subtle they become. It's not like It's not like you pin them down more and more. It's not like that, is it? It's the opposite. You actually know less and less about who they are the more you know them, paradoxically. And all experiences are essentially like that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
In Zen they say first there's a mountain, then there's a mountain, and here's again the mountain.
Yeah.
In the middle stage, one is putting one's attention on the undefinability of things
Yes.
To counter Taoist habitual
Yeah.
grasping at the ordinary perceptions.
Yeah.
I take it in the end, there's no need for that type of I don't know, filtration or
Yeah.
or
You don't need to prove it. It's already established. It's the known condition, and so it does. You don't need to specify it. You know, when you're in ignorance, this is a cushion. It's completely a cushion. There's no way it's not a cushion, and it would be stupid to say it's not. When you really begin to look at, well, what is a cushion? What is the experience of a cushion? It starts to get very strange and trippy. If you really, really go the distance, and there's no more cushion anymore, it's just weirdness. And once you find the weirdness as an actuality, then the weirdness is this cushion. But you don't need to, you don't need to go back to the beginning and deconstruct it every time, again and again, because it's just, you know what it is. It's like in a dream, in a dream, when you're in a dream with complete gullibility, you're just lost in the dream. Things are just what they are. Someone comes up to you, they're them. And you're in a situation, the monster's chasing you, it's really a monster, it's really chasing you. And then you go lucid in the dream and you realize, oh, there's no monster there. There's no person there. It's just a dream. What fun. But that doesn't mean the dream goes away, and then the monster is, you don't need to have it not be a monster. It's a monster that's there in the dream, and like, oh great, let me go dance with it. Let me go have sex with it. Let me go kill it. Let me go ignore it. Whatever. And but you don't need to deconstruct it. Once it is, if you want to appeal to Dzogchen, the Dzogchen principle is all things by their very nature self-liberate, because they are pure emptiness. And once that is known with certainty to be the basic condition, the fundamental inherent condition, then that is the condition with people and cushions and talks and rooms and everything. Basically, you don't need to be an asshole. Just because you've disproved conventional reality doesn't mean you need to go around going, you can. I guess some people do. But you can also just, hang out and watch your favorite TV shows and go to your favorite restaurants and drink coffee and whatever else you like to do. You know that none of it's that. You know that description is hopelessly inadequate, but so what?
So the actual rocking of that emptiness seems to be an important step, or the real seeing of that emptiness, which, well, we talk about appearances. There's the apparentness of things.
Yeah. More simply, it's not the things and the emptiness and the this and the that. It's just see what experience is. See how slippery experience is. That's all. That's what all these formal philosophical terms like emptiness and unresolvability and all this stuff boils down to is, well, here's experience. Check out what it really is in contrast to what people usually think it is, in contrast to what our language implies it is. Here's an example. Language, okay? You get a dictionary, it's got maybe 10,000 words in it or whatever, right? And so it's got, chair, cushion, rug, you know. And the implication is that that there are chairs and there are cushions and there are rugs and there are people and there are rooms and there are lights and there are tonkas and there are cabinets and there are flowers and there are, you know, blah, 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 blah. I mean, you get the dictionary and start reading the words out. And so you think, well, there's 10,000 words, so there must be 10,000 things. But there's only one thing, the field of experience. So if you are gullible and you assume that, well, language wouldn't be constructed this way unless it needed to be, you know, unless it was accurate, unless there were 10,000 things. But then you get that, well, there's only one thing here, there's the field of experience. And all of these words just refer to aspects, portions, sets, groupings, God knows what, another dozen words, right, about this actuality, this one thing that is here, which is your field of experience. It's the only thing that's ever here. And it's amazingly consistent. We're experts at seeing what's different in our field of experience, and we're typically not very good at seeing what's the same. And in fact, experience is much more the same than it is different. When you wake up in the morning, when your field of vision appears, you know, when a person appears in your field of vision and the sun appears in your field of vision and the wall appears in your field of vision, it's basically all the same. And then once you're awake, it's, oh no, the wall's not at all like a person. The person's not at all like the sun. But then you close your eyes and they all disappear the same, and you open it. The same thing, when you open your eyes, one thing appears, the field of vision. And it's one thing. And then once it's appeared, all of a sudden, no, everything's very different. Look at all these differences. And even more so, we think vision is so much different than sensation. Sensation is so much different than hearing, and hearing is so much different than thought. But when you go, if you really look, experience is really just experience. And all of these minutiae of distinctions and elaborations we make within experience are all abstractions. And again, we emphasize with our minds, essentially, the differences, and we completely downplay the similarity. So we're experts at seeing this, that, and the other, and we're basically really shitty at seeing experience itself. Which is strange, because experience is all we're ever actually seeing. Experience is the thing. This is the thing. This is the only thing. And all so-called things are nothing other than this thing that is here. And the way in which this thing is here is very interesting. Well, exactly. How so? I mean, look and see. It can't be said. I mean, obviously, I spend a lot of time saying, but I'm always essentially just going back to this itself.
Applying the nuances of indefinability applied to the feeling of self, experiencing experience. Is a way of breaking down that seemingly solid sense of self.
Absolutely. Of course. I mean, this is here, right? If there is a self, it's there. If there is a self looking at a self, it's this. If there is a self looking at non-self, it's this. If there is you looking at the world, it's this. If there is transcendental consciousness looking at transcendental consciousness, it's this. So those are all just different ways of spinning the same event. So the trick is, rather than starting with the spinning, why not just start with the event, and then let's see what spinnings are inherent. I mean, just look at this and see how relevant a self is. I mean, self is fine. This is self. It works for me. This is me. I am here. I am here rings true for me. And what is here? This. So if I am here, then I am this. It's all very straightforward to me.
Okay, then now.
Or I could say, oh, but it's not self. So then this is not self. Okay, cool. That rings true too. But there's no change in the fact.
Well, then there's the looking at the self. There's the witnessing of
Well,
the self.
but all of that is more imagination. This is a looking at itself.
It appears as if it's experience.
Uh-huh.
The actual witnessing of experience, looking at experience, seems just as valid.
Well, it is valid, but it's not. But it's a non-entity. It's just this. That is this. This is the consciousness looking at reality. Consciousness looking at itself. God looking at God. You looking at the world. Consciousness looking at consciousness looking at itself. I mean, it's all of these different ways of spinning it. It's all just this actuality. I mean, look for your consciousness is here, right? Experiencing your experience, right? I mean, whatever that means, this is it. It's here. And your experience, being experienced, is here. This is it. Where's the line? Where's the consciousness is here and the experience is there? You can't find that if you look for it. It's just this. So if there's consciousness, this is it. If there's experience, this is it. If there's a looking, this is it. It's not like something over here is being looked at by something over here. Where do you find a here and a there? Where's there any separation? Here is here. Try and find a there.
Yes, it's more the sense of identity, whatever that is. You know it when you
Sure.
know it when you feel it.
Yeah, but identity is arbitrary. Identity is this. Or if I wanted to say identity is this, or identity is this, or identity is this, that's all doable. You can sort of do that, and your consciousness can go there. It can do all these amazing backflips and tricks. But in doing so, nothing has actually been changed or addressed or modified. It's just more seeming. If you go looking for any kind of a self that is separate or distinguishable or in any way different from any kind of a non-self, you're going to have to look a long time. It'll give you something to do. Keep you off the street.
So it's all good.
Mm-hmm. It's all good, it's all fun, it's all weird. It all sucks. But however you want to, wherever you want to go, go with that. I mean, it's beyond qualification. And so any qualification was fine, but it doesn't limit anything.
Where is the freedom line that enables that identification to be more fluid than heightened within a perspective of body-mind?
Freedom lies in open-endedness. Freedom lies in infinity. Freedom lies in unresolvability. Freedom lies in incoherence, and all of these are essentially synonyms.
There's a true experience of fluidity.
Sure. There's nothing but true experience of the fluidity. Even experience of unfluidity is very fluid. You can think of a dream. A dream can seem to be very stuck and solid and limiting and entrapping when you're in it, right? But that's essentially imagined into existence. It's just a dream. There's nothing there that's entrapping. There's nothing there that is solid. There's nothing there that is limited. It can seem to be that way, but that seeming itself is not solid. That seeming itself is very fluid. Fluidity is always findable because there's actually nothing else. Even any sense of non-fluidity, if you look at it closely, will reveal itself as being pure fluidity. Experience is strange. Experience is slippery. I mean, I use this word transcendental a lot, and that's what I'm trying to refer to. Experience is, if you look at it, it reveals itself as being very, very weird. And in this weirdness, any seeming enclosure or entrapment or stuckness or solidity or smallness is revealed as absurd. It's revealed as not actually that.
Well, there's conditioning that happens.
Sure.
That it's like armor.
Sure. It can seem to be like armor, but it's not actually like armor because it's made of slipperiness. You can't build a jail out of slipperiness. On the other hand, you can hypnotize someone to think they're stuck in jail when they're standing in an open field. All our problems are insanity. They're temporary insanity. All our problems are basically self-hypnosis. Oh, I'm stuck. I'm so small. I'm so partial. I'm so, so alone. I'm so whatever, right? All of that is hypnotic. It's hypnotic delusion. It's hypnotically induced insanity, and there's no basis for it experientially. And the antidote is always to look at what experience actually is, and you will very clearly and readily, if you look at it intelligently and unbiasedly, discover that it's not actually like that. You discover experience is open, experience is free, experience is loose, experience is lucid.
How does it reveal itself? I mean, you use the word elusive. That's pretty good. What does it feel like when that happens? When you experience?
It feels like light. It feels like joy. It feels like open-ended life, open-ended aliveness. I don't know. I mean, that's all just poetry.
Yeah, I know.
I can't really say.
But it is. I think it is because I think I've felt it. That it is some kind of. Well, you're just experiencing it a different way, I guess.
When people come to some kind of revelation, when people come to really a perception of how amazing, how astounding this reality is, by contrast with what we've been holding it ourselves to be and holding our situation to be, it's a major wow factor. Oh God, this is incredible, unbelievable. I'm seeing God. This is, But the most of that wow factor is in the contrast with what it has seemed to be. Because it's like getting out of a dark room into a bright open space. It's like wow, But after you've been in the bright open space for a few years, it becomes sort of the same old, and the wow factor is less there. If you take the time to look around, you can, it's pretty amazing, pretty bright and wide open. it's not like, it's the contrast of the revelation that gives most of that wow factor. The open-endedness, the miraculousness of reality itself is real. It's palpable, and it's there. Anytime you care to look at it, you'll go, yeah, this is a miracle. Literally a miracle, not poetically a miracle, not metaphorically a miracle. This is a fucking miracle. This is it. And it's obviously that, and it's palpably that, if you can see that. But when you first discover that, you're liable to, burst out laughing or crying or cursing or whatever. But, 5 years later, you may just be going about your business and watching your favorite TV show and reading your favorite books and all that. And every now and then you look around and go, wow. And then you go back to your favorite TV, because what the heck? TVs are miracles too.
It's interesting you say TV. That's another way I can sort of liken it. You're just sort of zeroing in on the story of the TV or whatever's on. And then there's something happens, and I don't know, it must be something electronic. But, the pixels sort of go like this, and it makes you just zoom out to sort of just open it, because you're away from the story again, and then you go back, but you're not stuck to the...
Yeah, you go in and out, but in life you go in and out too. Even if you're so-called in delusion, even if you're just a civilian out in the trenches, stuck in your horrible life. Even then, a lot of times you have experiences where you're totally gone. You're like, oh, sure. Or you're drifting off to sleep, or you're having a nap, or you just see, you see a beautiful sunset, or there's something, and you, wow, woo. That's it.
Yeah, and you can sort of see it.
It's impossible to not see the amazingness of reality, but it's relatively easy to not appreciate it. But it's impossible to not see it. Absolutely impossible. You don't need to be realized. You don't need to be a spiritual master to see the astoundingness of reality. Everyone sees it all the time. Everyone literally sees it all the time, but everyone even notices and knows they see it all the time, but they may or may not appreciate it. The weight of their addiction to their, soap opera may invalidate their ability to appreciate it. But it's always there, it's always available, so it is always appreciable if one has the wherewithal to go, wow, wait a minute, this is for real, this is incredible. It truly is incredible. Look at the beautiful sunset, it's astounding. How can this happen? How can it be so beautiful? What is the beauty of it? It's completely obvious, it's completely palpable, but you can answer that question. And just to let yourself, just appreciate that. Yeah, wow, this is for real. This is incredible. And then you look away from the sunset and you look at, the situation where you are. And, wow, this is incredible too. This is bizarre. This is incredible.
So, Peter, the armor of ego, that Tolkien once described, he said, ego in a nutshell is paranoia. The movement of the mind to protect itself. You referred to that moments ago. As the radiant nature is sensed, and it seems, and I have some feel for it, that without trying to open or anything like that,
right,
would just be the natural gesture. What would just be understood or realized there's nothing there to defend it with it.
Yeah. It can be a paranoia, but again, paranoia is based on the idea that there is the fantasy that there is something there to protect, and or that there is something there to threaten. And neither of those is actually findable conditions experientially. Which is, so the antidote to the paranoia is to discover that it's baseless, not to try to deconstruct it or throw stones at it or, give psychiatrists thousands of dollars. Just look and see that in experientially, nothing can be found that needs to be defended, and nothing can be found that needs to be defended from. It's all just endless weirdness of characteristics appearing in experience.
What are described as the bhumi, which again Trungpa referred to as the process of opening. That would just be one way of trying to map it out.
Yeah, but again, this all of that is too much structure on something that is intrinsically structureless. I call what I present the yoga of radiant presence, and I call it that specifically because it is, I call it a yoga because it's an actual engagement. It's not philosophy, it's not theory, it's not like sitting around and spinning fancy words. It's about that it is possible to engage this actuality directly, and this engagement is inconceivably powerful and profound and available and transformative. Just to notice how amazing being is, how amazing experience is. Not as an abstraction, not as a ritual or some kind of a formalization, but just in the simple, self-evident normalcy of that it really is. And it's here, it's available, it's not blocked off, it's noticeable, and you are it, so you have complete access. It's not like you need to develop new faculties to, in spirituality it's easy to have all these fantasies. Oh, I have to develop my clarity, or I have to get rid of my afflictions, or I have to develop my equanimity, or I have to do this, or I have to do that, because I'm inadequate as I am, and I can't possibly engage this profundity unless I clean up my act. And that's a crock of shit. It's just plain not true. Because you already are completely engaged in this. The fact of experiencing, the fact of the actuality of the presence of your experiential field is 100% engagement. And so, and what this field is completely transcendental by its very nature. Literally that, not metaphorically that. It is God. Your experiential field is the divine presence in every implication of that phrase. This right here, right now, this is it. And it's available, it's obvious, and simply letting yourself know that and letting yourself appreciate it is a never-ending engagement with this, a never-ending embracing of this, which will continually and spontaneously deepen and reveal itself with more and more profundity forever. And hey, wow. I call it radiant presence because that's the simplest thing I could come up with to call it. Because it's present. This is presence. This is here. This is actually present. Can't say what that means, but it is that. And it's radiant in the sense that it continually presents with all these characteristics, all these flavors, all of this amazing light show, which is so seductive and absorbing and entertaining and amazing and dynamic and unstable and incredible. And this is that. The presence is this radiance, and the radiance is present, and this is you. And seeing that is a yoga. Seeing that is the ongoing engagement with this fact of the presence of your experiential field, which of course has always been the case. It's all you've ever been doing. But when you see that that is the actual event, that's the actual doing, that's what you're actually doing with your life, is experiencing. And that is not just a non-entity. That is not just a bare minimum. On the contrary, that's the maximum. That's everything. The fact of experiencing is the finish line, and everything else just happens by itself, spontaneously. All of the the soap opera takes care of itself.
It seems to me, Peter, that not questioning at all how presence shows up in its many, just in every circumstance. There is saying that there is in fact no difference whatsoever. How something appears, just going to that knowledge that that's true, or the experience that that's true, without any gap between the experience of that and the sort of staying of that, or the stepping back from that, seems to be very
Yeah, presence is amazing, because presence is the important fact, the only fact. All of this is real because of presence. And then when you go to sleep tonight, all this will be completely gone, but it's exactly the same presence. And the presence that looks like that then. And when you leave here, the presence looks like that. You close your eyes, the presence looks like that. You drop dead, the presence looks like that. But the presence is always completely full on. It's always just that. Always looks different, but it does not wax and wane. It doesn't come and go. You can't make it more present, you can't make it less present. You get stone drunk, or you get high on acid or something. It's not more or less present, it just looks different. Feels different.
There's nothing personal in it either.
No. In one sense, it's absolutely nothing personal. In another sense, it's all completely personal.
Yeah.
It just depends on how you want to spin it. You can say, this is all just objective truth, or you can say it's all me, and they're equally true. It's just different ways of holding it. I mean, you don't change the fact. Fact is as it is. This is what it is, and it's unchangeably that. You can't change it. You can't make presence more or less. You can't turn it up. You can't turn it down. You can't.
I mean, the question of personal or non-personal actually is, in hindsight or in separation from the actual experience itself.
Of course. I mean, all questions like that are always after the fact. The fact is this. And then, well, what is it? Is it me? Is it you? Is it good? Is it bad? Is all sort of after the fact. The given fact is just this bang, this flash, like a flash bulb goes off. Bing! Now, here, this.
But there is something nice in being able to kind of, chew the fat or.
Well, but that comes with. You got all that you want.
Yeah.
You want to sit and think about it, or mull over it, or read books about it, or philosophize. That comes with.
Yeah.
But of course, all that happens within presence. Is an expression of presence, and it doesn't add to or damage the presence whatsoever. In Tibetan Buddhism, they call this presence Vajra, which means diamond, because it's absolutely impervious, absolutely, what's the word? Let me see in a moment.
Immutable.
Beautiful. That's a good one. It's fine. But anyway, this presence it's completely, it's absolutely stable. It's absolutely 100% this, and it does not come and go. It doesn't. It's never less and more. It doesn't waver. It's with inconceivable solidity. It is that which is solid. In fact, all solidity, when you feel something that's solid, you feel this solidity, you feel something like that, that what you're feeling is the presence. There's no hands. It's the presence showing up like that. It's the presence showing up like this. All color is the presence. All sound is the presence. All thought is the presence. All feeling, all emotion is the presence. Any quality of experience whatsoever. You close your eyes and see all these little sparkles. That's the presence. the presence itself is radiant. The presence itself shows up as all of these experiential characteristics that we're so good at differentiating and following, trying to follow.
I'm really struck tonight by the, like when I close my eyes and then I open my eyes and look at you and I see you, you've been this incredibly rich sort of.
Yeah, this room's great and fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just kind of like, whew.
It's amazing the way you describe that as said the word diamond, because I was just thinking that this was the Diamond Sutra. It's hearing
Sure.
diamond.
Sure. Well, but this is what all of these, sacred texts and sutras and such, this is what they're about. They're about this fact that is the fact right here, right now. It's not about lofty abstractions or something somewhere in the Himalayas or whatever. It's just about simple, everyday, normal reality, about being what it is.
I just didn't get that when I heard and read the Diamond Sutra.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to miss it, especially when we first, because we it's presented with all of this.
I figure out what it meant.
Yeah. Oh, certainly. Thank you.
There's this notion that we're looking for some specialness.
Yeah.
But this is special.
Yeah, it's a specialness.
So this isn't.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the specialness. This is what all the fuss is about, just this actuality, this normalcy. Which is kind of nice because it means you've got it. It's available. It's here. Anytime you want, you can trip on it or enjoy it or ignore it or whatever. But it's not going to go away. That's the one thing it won't do.
And yet it remains elusive.
It's completely elusive. You can't get rid of it. You can't avoid it. You can't find it. Damnedest thing.
It's a lot of fun to be rough with it like that, or let it be rough with you, or whatever. Let it kind of tear you around between it showing up as coziness and specialness, and it showing up as like this kind of insanity.
Oh yeah.
And to find those bits like in the opposite seating bits, it's pretty crazy.
Doesn't get any crazier.
Yeah.
If you want crazy, there's only one place to look. And it won't let you down.
It's like a really, really wild ride. I mean, like this past, year, I guess, if you want to call it that. It's been like, you go, oh my God, it's, God in the kitchen sink. And you scream and you flail and now you're kind of just looking around and zoning out and going, oh, there it is. There it is again. Oh, there it is again. And it's just like, it's as if, it's the weather. It's like you always, talk about the weather. You feel this kind of crazy storm coming on. Like, oh no, she's gonna get crazy. She's gonna get angry at something. Here it comes. Hold on. And then you're just kind of like, I don't know. This morning I got upset at him for a stupid thing, and then I kind of went, and I went upstairs and I sat in the bed and I was like, and you have this moment where it's like, oh, this is so funny. And I think I kind of like felt myself laughing a little bit, and the one part kind of goes, no, you have to stay angry. And then it's just funny to like kind of
oscillate between those two things. And
yeah. You blew your own cover.
right, yeah. Right, I did. And to try on both of those, both of those things, all right, I'm going to feel what it feels like to be really angry. I'm going to feel what it feels like to be, laughing at my own anger. I'm going to feel what it feels like to pretend like I'm, angry, in this one moment, what's that about? And then it's just this endless, passion play of, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it never settles down. It's just these endless waves of weirdness. But the nice, to me, this, I mean, what's so beautiful to me is this: anytime you want, you can just look and, yeah, this is amazing. And whatever you're caught up in, whatever's going on, you can, at any time at all, you can just take a moment and look. Yeah, incredible. Doesn't change anything, but there's nothing to be changed, so.
And yet it changes everything. That one moment.
Yeah.
And the fact of it just gives this kind of evening out. The taking a second and going, this is it. This is it. This is it. This is it. It evens it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A great equalizer.
Yeah. So the weather can, rage or whatever, but it's,
Well, thank you all for coming. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you. And I'll be here in 2 weeks again if you like stopping in or not, whatever. Yeah, there's a basket over there. If you can afford the donation, it would be nice because we have to pay for the use of the room. And thanks for coming.